Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Well, today is the 29th of September 2017. And, I was planning on making a more comprehensive video on this in the future. I mentioned it to several people on Twitter that I was involved or going to be involved in making a comprehensive video on this. And as I'll show you in a few minutes, I've touched on the subject in the past several times, but this came out this morning. I got on the internet and found this on InfoWars. Silicon Valley elitist starts religion to worship artificial intelligence as God. And you can go there and read the article, and wow. Now, when I was considering doing this video on this, of course I have to bring in spiritual things again, because there really is something spiritual to this, and it's not good, ladies and gentlemen. It's not good at all. A lot of us have wondered a long time about CERN, and if they're trying to open a portal into another dimension to bring something from the other side here, or take something from here there. And people have made fun of the Hebrew biblical scriptures for a long time, but as I've pointed out time and time again, they are a blueprint, they are a battle plan for both sides, the good and the evil. And a lot is revealed there about how things will progress on this world. And here we are. Now, let me go back to a couple things here so that you'll know that you can go look at them. I've talked about these things before, but only casually. Here's one. It's called Unmasking the Enemy of Mankind. It's on my YouTube channel. And then another one is When They Show You Who They Are, Believe Them. Now, these are only two of the many that I've done, of course, and these are back in the December 2015 time frame, apparently. Let me double check on both of those. Yeah, 2015, so if you have to follow the timeline back to see those, where I'm going to mention some of the things that I'm going to talk about here. And I've done other videos about the Hebrew too, and what it means and why it's so important. And so what I need to do is go back a little bit. I'm going to keep showing this here as I talk. Again, I'm not really ready to get on camera yet, but okay, let's go back in the past and let's see what we have here. And I'm going to go in a slightly different chronology, and of course this is going to be based on Hebrew scriptures, but again, these are archetypes, these are types and shadows, these are things predicted both in the spiritual world and in the physical, which are destined to become one and the same for God's children. And I don't think that I'm going to go into that part of it today, but I am going to go into this. There was a war in heaven, and I've talked about this on a couple of tweets and on YouTube here. And that war in heaven revolved around created being by the name of Hillel ben Shakar. He was not a son of God. Ben Shakar means son of the morning. In other words, he was not begotten of God. He was not an actual son of God, like the Ben Elohim are. Ben Elohim means sons of God. B'nai Elohim, actually. And there is a difference between those. There were created beings, and then there were begotten beings, even in what we would call the spirit world. And that's what chapter 1 of Genesis is all about, is that spiritual creation. And then it moves into the physical creation in the second chapter of Genesis. Now, I'm not here to argue with people about this interpretation. I just want to get through what I'm talking about here, because this is so dangerous. This is very, very dangerous where we are right now, but it was all predicted. So again, there were these created beings, and they saw the sons of God and were jealous, particularly the one called Hillel ben Shakar. He was jealous that God would make his real children after his own likeness. Halel ben Shakar was not made after the likeness of God. And we know him today by the Latin name Lucifer, which really only means light bearer. That's really not his name. And I've talked about that before. He's also known as Satan and the accuser and Beelzebub and all those things, although I think those are different manifestations of different parts of that spirit. But regardless, as a matter of fact, in the Hebrew, the ninth letter tet is actually means instructor, and it stands for Satan, the accuser. But Satan is an actual important part of the whole plan of God, and he actually stands before the throne many times with God, bringing these accusations against the brethren. But at any rate, there are different beings here. But let's just stick with Halel ben Shakar as Lucifer. Halel ben Shakar, again, he was a created being. He was not a begotten son or daughter of God, and he was jealous of that. And so basically the story goes that over time he managed to bring not just the angels there with him, a number of them, but also some of the sons of God. He was able to lure them away and encourage them to worship him. What do we got here? Starts religion to worship artificial intelligence as God. There's one of the people, and I hate to point the finger at this guy, Anthony Lewandowski, I guess is his name, but he's been lured by this to worship this created being, not a begotten being. So anyway, as this war in heaven goes, Satan, Lucifer rather, he says, you know, come with me and I'll give you all these great things and I'll become as God, and God is going to have to step down from his throne and let me have it. You get the picture here? And he drew a third of all the hosts of heaven with him. Some of the angels, some of the Ben Elohim, some of the created beings, etc. All right, now whether or not you believe that story as being something that happened in the spirit world, it really doesn't matter. The fact is that we're seeing it play out in the physical world here right now. And whether this was all part of the playbook, as I've talked about before, it's written there and somebody's trying to follow the playbook in the Bible for an evil play or mission, operation, or for the good, both sides are there. It's interesting, even God says that he creates evil, which is kind of antithetical to most Christian thought, but the fact of the matter is he said it, I didn't. And I'm not here to quote the scriptures to you, I'm just here to tell a story. So what we have here, again, is this created being. It was created by God, by the Elohim, okay? And now seeks to replace the creator with the created. You understand that, right? That's what we're talking about here. And whether it happened in the spiritual world, in this war in heaven that I'm talking about, or whether it was a foreseeable future, a prophecy that was written down saying this is where man's headed in this big war between created and begotten beings, whatever it is, somebody saw it coming, okay? That's the important part. And I see a lot of people here are making some comments, and I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see that close. I'm doing this kind of on the spur of the moment because when I saw this, it so absolutely shocked me that this was coming out so soon that I just had to do something right now and not wait to make a more detailed YouTube video. What I did do is I increased my time on YouTube. I finally figured out, or they finally allowed me to do that. And so this may be able to go longer than 15 minutes. But hello to everyone who's saying hi, and I'm sorry I'm not responding right now. But I'll try to get back to those if you want to come back as soon as I get in a point here where we can go forward. So at any rate, here we have this situation going. And we know for a fact that you know, there's the story of the Apple. And isn't it interesting that Apple computers, you know, Apple, the corporation, chose that as their icon. And of course, a lot of people have talked about that before, that this is nothing new on my part. But I don't think we really realized how serious these people were that were doing this. And they really believe that they are going to take a bite out of that apple, get this AI going, link with it, and become gods, and displace the true God of the universe, however you view that. And I'm not here to argue those types of points right now. But it's really happening. And interestingly, the way this thing came about, of course, was through division. That's how Lucifer managed to start this whole ball rolling, was division, to divide us. The Ben Elohim, the sons of God, to divide us up, make us angry at each other. At the beginning, of course, it was between Eve and Adam. In other words, the woman was convinced to start this battle for various reasons, and I'm not going to get into the political correctness of all that. It's just the way it was written. But I will say that the history of this certainly looks like that's been the case. And if not the woman herself, the feminine aspect of man is the part that's attacked by this thing, whether it is the the woman herself or that feminine aspect. Either way, it's still happening like that. And again, I'm not going to get into the details of that. But I wanted to show you this because it's happening. It actually is happening. Now, all through the Old Testament, it says, God says that you do not worship the workmanship of your own hands. You worship God, okay? And that sounds so strange, right? We say to people that do that or that quote these things, what are you talking about? You know, you're believing in fairy tales and all that. Well, here it is exhibiting itself, manifesting itself in reality. We, through these evil spirits or whatever, maybe God gave us He did. He gave us the intelligence to be able to create just like He does. But here we are, we've created something, or at least a group of us have created something to help mankind out, and now they're using it to worship it, to give it everything that they've got so that they can worship it, just like the old guys back in the ancient times, and even today will make carvings and then out of wood or stone or whatever, and then worship those as God. In other words, worshiping the workmanship of their own hands. And God warned us against that. Why? Because it'll take you to this place here where you begin to worship. Sorry, I lost the picture there. Where you begin to worship what you've made rather than what made you. However you look at that, it's a reality, and here it is. This is proof of that. So this is dangerous. To me, this says that they're already there. This thing is already sentient. This thing is inhabited by, they've given it, the men here think that they're going to unite with it and become gods themselves. This is a trap. No, that's not what's going to happen. Not if the whole story stays true here. What's happening is there is an evil entity out there. Again, we know him as Lucifer, and he's been seeking to get ultimate control of everything. And when you start plugging into something like this, and especially, volunteering to become part of the machine, part of this universal consciousness that's centered in this machine, this computer, this AI, you lose what independence you have. You lose your self-identity. You lose your freedom of choice. One of the things that Satan said, Lucifer said, is that, he'll make everybody do the right thing and make sure they all come back, instead of giving them the choice to find out the truth for themselves. He was going to force it on them. And what did we hear Mr. Schmidt, Eric Schmidt, say here from Google a few days ago or a few weeks ago or whenever it was? I saw the video where he says, it's a bug right now that when you put in a question in Google, you get several answers. And then basically what that means is you have to use your smarts, your intellect, your freedom of choice to pick what you think is the right one. And what he wants to do is give you what he considers the right one. In other words, the consensus of a bunch of people, which has never been the truth, ever. Consensus is not truth. Scientific method is a little different concept than consensus. So at any rate, consensus it's the idea of diplomacy, of a democratic society, like in Greece. If 51 people decide to kill you out of 100, 51 out of 100 decide to kill you, they do. And that's okay because the consensus is saying that it's not unlawful to do so. You see the idea? Well, that's where they're going with this. And it looks like I'm going to get that chance to go over 15 minutes. First time in years. I hope I'm not boring anybody. So this is a real quick update on what's going on here because this is serious. This doesn't tell me that this is coming. This tells me that it is here now, and they're getting ready to do this. And if you refuse the mark, which would probably be, I guess, at this point, and I'm still not sure exactly what it is. A lot of people seem to be absolutely positive. I'm not sure, but apparently to unite with this thing by becoming chipped so that you lock into the AI permanently. It's not just when you're on your iPhone or on surveillance or whatever, but you actually become part of this expansive being. It's kind of actually it's an imitation of the temple of God, meaning, the body of Christ, I guess you could say, those types of things. This is Satan's imitation of that because he's not one of us. I'm going to say it again. Hillel ben Shakar is the son of the morning, a created being. Men are begotten sons and daughters of God. Adam, for instance, in the book of John, I think it is, it says right there, a lot of people think that Jesus is the only Son of God in one sense or another, but unfortunately for everybody, it does say in John that, actually I think it's Luke. John talks about the Word, but Luke, I believe, talks about the Adam being it's in Luke, where it's talking about the genealogy, and it says, gets on back to Adam, it says, and Adam, who was the Son of God. Begotten beings, okay? And there are mysteries there. There are mysteries about the rib from the woman and about the dust of the earth and all that. There are mysteries there, but really what it has to do is with generation. And that's the real secret. But they talked in euphemisms back then, and we think that it was really something where somebody was created out of a bunch of clay, put together kind of like a mold or something, and it really wasn't like that at all. But again, I'm not here to get into that, and I didn't mean to. But I'm trying to impress upon everybody that there are differences between created beings and begotten beings, and that the begotten beings are from God, actually part of Him, where the created beings are not. Not in the same sense, of course. I guess it would be like if you and your wife have a son or daughter, and here's a good example. You create a computer to serve them, all right? But then the computer becomes what they worship. Rather than appreciating you, rather than honoring their father and their mother, they start to worship the computer. It's a perfect simile. Perfect metaphor, and here we see it happening in real life. So, like I said, I've covered this thing about Hillel ben Shakar for a number of years, and what it really is, that he is this created being, not a begotten being, and that man is now going to worship the workmanship of his hands. And there are going to be problems with this unimaginable, but the worst, of course, is that it's going to seek to destroy, just like in all the movies, just like in Terminator, just like in 2001: A Space Odyssey, all of those icons and types and shadows that are in those movies, about the AI taking over and then seeking to destroy mankind. That's for real, and we're there. And they even say so. And when you read this article, it's done by Paul Joseph Watson, as you can tell. You'll get kind of an insight into some of that, but it's even more sinister than what he brings out there. Well, I've probably dried up the subject for this point. I was in the future going to treat this in a very detailed manner, show you the actual Hebrew words, what they mean. I was actually going to go through the prophecies of this thing, and yet, now it's almost too late, I would think. But I'm still not going to get on camera for at least another few weeks, if not another month or more. And that's really what makes it easier than this. And I don't know if you appreciate that or not, but that's how I plan on doing it, at any rate. Okay, so I'm going to post this up on Twitter as well. Obviously, it's of extreme importance. And whatever this evil entity is, it's waited for this day. And now it will be worshipped as God by people like this Mr. Lewandowski and apparently about a third of the rest of the world, maybe more. It'll be worshipped as God instead of the real God. Just what it wanted from the beginning. Just what it tried to do in the spirit world and got thrown out. And now it's going to do it here. Will it get thrown out of here? Or will we leave it here? You know, I don't know. I have a different concept of the rapture than most people do. I don't look at it the same way. I look at it more of an awakening. I do believe in a resurrection. I do believe that eventually the whole purpose of this place here is to unite matter with spirit, in an inseparable connection to receive what's called the fullness of joy. That sounds like a Mormon concept, but it really isn't. It's actually ancient Egyptian. And that might sound bad too. A lot of Christians look badly upon the Egyptians, but it depends on who you're talking about. The Egyptians weren't just a single people. As you know, there was a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom at one point with very different theologies. Okay, so just because something has an Egyptian background to it doesn't necessarily make it evil. As a matter of fact, the way I look at it, the closer you get to the fountain, the closer you get to the source of the water, the spring, the river, whatever, the more pure it is. But there was a division even that early on between truth and evil, and so we do have to be aware of that and divide the word correctly. The Bible itself says in the New Testament you must rightly divide the word of God, and that means a number of things, but one is to know what's truth in it and what isn't. That's going to send some people off the cliff, me saying that. And the other thing is a process that I've talked about before, which is actually dividing up the Hebrew words into their individual meanings, the letters, and finding out what they mean. So go ahead and ask your questions. I've been seeing them pop up. One just now was, do you think Trump knows this? You know, I don't know. Trump is not a spiritually oriented man. He's a businessman. He's a man of the world. He is the prototype, or not the prototype. He is the modern day Cyrus, if anything, the guy that's trying to bring back prosperity. Yes, he talks about God, but and he's not an evil man. Not by any way, shape, or form is Donald Trump evil. The fact that he likes women actually is a good thing if you understand what's going on here. And I'm not going to get into that because I don't want to alienate anybody. But the fact that he likes women is actually a positive part of who he is and his good side. And I think that's really important. Again, hi for everybody that's coming in. I appreciate you coming in. Mindy, Patriot Angel, Deb Cotham, Gwen Clark, all of you. It's been interesting. A lot of you've been with me for a long time. It's really interesting. I recognize some of them. I don't look at the comments very much more these days. I got tired of the trolls. You know, they want to draw you off into their little arguments. I had problems with, oh yeah, John Smith. Yeah, thank you. Dem Apples, all that. I had, a lot of problems with people trying to denigrate, my career for different reasons. It was kind of funny. It was a way to try to get, of course, to paint me in a bad light, and trying to denigrate service to the country. And that's what they do. When they start to lose an argument, that's how they handle it. Rather than saying, yeah, you served the country, great, thank you. They try to denigrate you. As a matter of fact, they couldn't find me at first when they started looking for me. These are CIA-backed people and people that have access to information. But they couldn't find me at first, and they accused me that I wasn't even in the Army. It was really kind of funny. But I argued with them for a while, and then I just realized, they're not worth the time. I'm not going to get pulled off actually doing the important thing, which is sending the message out. So just to let you know that's how that's progressed. Yeah, I just saw a question. I missed it, I'm afraid, about doing these live streams. Like I said, I don't have my glasses on, so I kind of missed that question. Maybe you can ask it again. Sorry, I'm not quite quick on the draw. You might need moderators to get rid of trolls. Oh, I'm not that sophisticated, but I appreciate the offer. Okay, I really do. Um, I don't know if POTUS is baptized. He was Catholic, so I would suspect so, but probably in a slightly different way than most Christians would expect that to happen. But again, I'm not going to be I have to look at what's in a man's heart. That's really what's important, is what's in the heart. And I know a lot of people say, well, you got to accept Jesus Christ and all that. And well, I believe that, but I believe it's more of accepting his attributes. In other words, taking the name of Jesus upon you means that you become more like him. You may not even know his name, but if you're already like that, if you already have that spirit and you've accepted it into you, to me, that's accepting Jesus, whether you know his name or not. And I can say that about a lot of people around the world who have nothing to do with Christianity. Some of them haven't even heard about it in any great degree. But Roy, you give trusted people the blue wrench to make them mods. Well, uh, again, if I'm here to force somebody to believe something, then I'm doing what Lucifer did, right? If a lot of people say, well, why doesn't God do this? Why doesn't he fix it? Because if he forces us to believe something, how is he going to be any better than this AI or this Lucifer? You see that? He can't do it. It has to come from inside us. It has to be in our hearts. That's what's important. And so, no, God isn't going to force that. Is he going to discipline us, punish us? Actually, I look at that more as that he withdraws his spirit of support, and then we suffer the consequences. I'm not certain that he actually commits any act of violence, actually, not in that way. But yeah, we have free will, and the purpose of Lucifer, Halel ben Shakar, and now when he takes over this artificial intelligence behemoth, Leviathan, wherever it's located, whatever it is, the internet, Google, CERN, I'm not sure, but that's his artificial body. That's the one that he's going to take over and rule the world from, and he will probably have that in some sort of a thing that looks like a man. And I know this sounds crazy, but I'm not the one saying it. These guys are. They're saying that they're going to allow this AI to take over their bodies, that they're going to unite with it. So this is not crazy talk on my part. It's real. It's absolutely real. My guess is that, again, AI was to be a created thing, obviously, by men to help us gain intelligence, to use kind of like libraries used to be, right? But unfortunately, they want us to meld with it, mind meld with it, become one with it, so that they can take away our free agency and force us to do their beck and call. And if we refuse to do that, what's their answer? It tells you here in the article. They will put you into slave labor, or they will exterminate you. That's the end thing. If you don't join their club, if you don't worship this artificial intelligence, if you don't worship it, they're going to do away with you. They're going to destroy God's creation. All right, well, I'm beaten on a dead horse at this point. I've said it I don't know how many times. But thank you for coming. I was not quite as prepared as I should have been with my glasses so I could read your comments here. But I'm so happy that there are so many people out there who understand what's happening here. Of course, I knew when I started talking about this type of thing that I wasn't the only one, but you still have to sound the alarm, and that's, of course, what I'm doing. And Paul Joseph Watson here has done a superb job of this. And I've heard Alex talk about it, and, of course, Steve Quayle and other people. Oh, thank you. I'll get better with this live stream. Thanks, Elaine. I appreciate it. Yeah, especially when I get back on camera. I'll tell you the story one of these days. It's almost too fantastical about why this happened to me, but I'll give you a little hint. I was given a substance unknowingly through a formal government agency, and it put me down, and it damaged some of my internal organs. And so I've been going through a regimen to get that fixed. And I know people say, "Oh, come on, who are you? What are you doing? What are you talking about?" Well, you know, it could have been an accident. Yes, it could have been an accident, but it happened at a very odd time when a lot of other things were going on, gang stalking and being surveilled and all of that. And they said, well, they don't have to do that because they have electronics. Oh, no, no, no. They still do it because they want you to know that they're doing it. And I'm really a nobody. That's what really surprised me about all this. I'm really a nobody. So what if I was a lieutenant colonel over a 28-year part-time career in the Army? I guess the real thing is just that I did it. And it became, and I had a run-in with other large organizations, ecclesiastical organizations that have a lot of power. And so, there was probably if there was any collusion, it could have been with them. Who knows? I mean, I'm not sure. But there have been a couple of things now, and I might as well tell you this too. Again, I don't know why this happened to me. I'm not that important. I don't get it. I don't get it. But I got in my car the other day, and there's a highway that goes down, and you get up to about 50 miles per hour on it. And my steering went out, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then it suddenly lurched to the right, and I ended up off the road. Well, if I had been going any faster, it probably would have been worse. But when I got out and I had the mechanic come, and look what happened, somebody had loosened all of my lug nuts on my right wheel, and one of the studs had actually busted off. So if I had lost that wheel going 50 or 60 miles an hour, who knows what would have happened. Or faster, if I get out on one of the interstates. So, again, I don't think I'm that important. I don't understand what's happened. I really don't. Other than the fact that maybe that LTC that I once had, they consider to be a problem for them. I don't know. I did go to the War College for a while. I was at the Command and General Staff College. I've worked, a lot of different places, a lot of different things. So maybe they just didn't like that. I often wonder if Anthony Schaefer suffers from these things. Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer, he really stepped out. He actually, of course, went and did some absolutely important things that they must hate his guts. As a matter of fact, they tried to take a Bronze Star from him, and he had to hire attorneys to help him to keep that. And I don't know if he actually succeeded in that endeavor or not. Wow, well, we've gone for over 30 minutes, and I said I was going to stop like 5 or 10 minutes ago. All right, extremely important here. I don't normally ask people to send this out, but I think this time you need to send this far and wide. This is really bad. This is mankind saying it's going to worship the workmanship of its own hands. Wow, fulfillment, like unbelievable. And there we are. So... yeah, and then when I get on Twitter, I'm going to put this up on Twitter. Maybe you can do the same thing there. Just tweet that thing out as much as you can. I really think it's that important. All right, thank you so very, very much for being there. God bless all of you. And, brothers and sisters, we're coming down to the wire here. This is really, really bad. We need to stick together no matter who we are, our backgrounds, our race, religion, creed, national origin, whatever. We've got to understand that we're all related. Certainly related more than this machine, this AI that wants to take over us. So thanks for everything, and I'm going to finish up here now and try to get this uploaded. Thanks so much. Out here.